Welcome to the first episode of our accounting lecture series. No, I am Kurt Garcia. Disclaimer lang currently just a second year student of accountancy, no? Bachelor of Science in Accountancy. So, since I'm still a student, no, there could be mistakes or errors. So, please just address it, no? You can comment down below. And I will try to correct it, no? So this video is intended for my tutees and other freshman students, no, who are currently struggling in their intermediate accounting subject. So without further ado, no, let us start na our topic. So in this video we will focus on the chapter 1 of the book of Valix, which is Intermediate Accounting 1. So it is all about chapter 1, cash and cash equivalents. So before we begin our lesson, no, here are the objectives. Ito dapat yung matutunan natin by the end of this video. Sana maturo ka na maayos. So number 1, to understand the concept of cash and to understand the concept of cash equivalents. And syempre, after understanding the concept itself, no, we should be able to identify the items that are considered as cash and items that are considered as cash equivalent. Moreover, there are other subtopics here in this particular topic. And one of those is the accounting for petty cash fund. So later on we'll tackle that, no. Let us start muna here the most important aspect of this lesson. Syempre, it is all about cash. What is cash nga ba? Syempre, di ba? Pinaka basic na question sa lahat. So sagutin natin yan, no? So dito i-define natin yung cash and then later on yung inclusions, no? So ito, definition of cash. Kung ikaw, sabihin natin, hindi ka accounting student, like you're just a random person, tapos tinanong ka, what is cash nga ba? Diba? Most likely you're going to answer, cash isn't that, just paper bills or coins, no? Anything that is tangible of those with physical with monetary value, 'di ba? Ganun lang in layman's term, ang ibig sabihin nila ng cash is literally physical money, no? But here in accounting, hindi po tayo ganun, no? Hindi po tayo normal. Hindi tayo normal, baliw tayo. Lang. So ayun, dito sa accounting, iba yung definition, din man iba, but rather mas broad yung sakop ng definition ng cash. So, ito. Number 1, sabi daw, syempre, cash is a standard medium of exchange. So, very simple explanation lang, no? Kapag nagkakaroon daw tayo ng exchange, let's say it could be delivery of a thing, no? Of an object, or it could be of service, no? Kapag nagkakaroon tayo ng exchange or transaction, ginagamit natin yung cash, no? Cash siya kapag tinatanggap siya ng karamihan. Like ito yung standard na pangkaraniwang tinatanggap ng market in those type of transactions, no? For example, di ba? Bibili ka sa sari-sari store. Cash lang naman tinatanggap nila. Diba? Most of the time, no? Pero ngayon kasi, di ba? Dahil meron ng online payments, no? Tinatanggap na rin yung mga GCash, Paymaya, something like that. So, it is debatable, no? Those online form of payments is not cash as we traditionally know, no? But to me, just my personal opinion and some other opinions I've heard, no? Nagtuturo rin ng paborito kong panoorin ng mga prof online, no? Sabi nila, no, it could be considered as cash, no? But why? Kasi mamaya makikita natin na nami-meet niya yung criteria ng cash, no? Online payments yun, such as GCash, Paymaya, pwede siya maging cash. Okay. So, dito tayo sa second na definition. Medyo mahaba. So, himay-himayin natin. Sabi daw, cash includes money and other negotiable instrument that is payable in money and acceptable by the bank for deposit and immediate credit. Okay. Himay-himayin natin. Sabi daw dito, includes money. So, yun na yun. Kanina, physical money. So, cash includes physical money. Pero may kadugtong siya. Medyo mahaba, no? Sabi daw dito, and other negotiable instrument, no? So, medyo broad tong term na to, negotiable instrument, no? Pero, based on its textbook definition, no? Sabi, it is a written document that represents a promise or order to pay. So, an example of this would be check, no? A check, cheque, di ba? Kasi sa cheque, di ba, nakasulat doon, sinusulat ng debtor or ng customer kung magkano and kung sino yung babayaran niya. So technically, it is like just, a promise to pay, no? There is value to it. Sabi daw dito yan, negotiable instrument that is payable in money. So ang pagkakaintindi ko dito, kapag ikaw yung nasa creditor na side, no, kapag natanggap mo itong negotiable instrument na to, dapat you have the capacity to turn it into money, as we know of, no? Money, physical money, cash, no, or cash in bank, no? So yan, that is payable in money and acceptable by the bank for deposit and immediate credit. So maliban sa pag-convert nito ng negotiable instrument na to into money or cash, no, it should also be acceptable by the bank. Kung sakaling hindi mo siya i-withdraw, like in physical cash, no, it is accepted by the bank na in a sense na papasok siya dun sa bank account mo, no. Basically, nakatanggap pa ng check, pwede, you have the choice to turn it into money or cash or put it in your bank account, no. Yan. So, ito, last, should be readily available in the payment of current obligations and not be subject to any restrictions, contractual or otherwise. So, dito, no, napaka-importante nitong part na to. Bakit? Kasi, dito pinapakita yung isang key characteristic ng cash, no, which is it being unrestricted, no. When we say unrestricted, malaya ka, no? As an entity, malaya ka mag-decide kung anong gagawin mo dun sa pera na yun, no? Sa cash na yun. So, sinasabi daw dito na if restricted siya, it is not cash, no? Basically, no? Restricted, not cash. And if it is unrestricted, no, automatically, cash na siya. So, okay. Ano ba next na ito? Hindi, mamaya na yan. Mamaya madadaanan natin kung ano yung context na sinasabi niya dito sa restrictions, contractual daw or otherwise. Mamaya dadaanan natin yan. Basta sinasabi lang dito na kailangan meron tayong ability to use this cash whenever we need to, no? Or into which whatever we desire, kung saan man natin siya gustong gamitin, no? Okay, so next, ito na, cash items included in cash. So ito, meron tayo ditong 3 examples, no? So number 1, cash on hand and other cash items awaiting deposit, such as customer's check, cashier or manager's check, traveler's check, bank drafts, and money orders. So doon muna tayo sa pinaka-umpisa. Ano ba yung cash on hand, no? Very self-explanatory. Cash on hand, ibig sabihin literal na cash nasa kamay mo. Like cash na paano ba sabihin to? Cash na literal na nasa iyo, no? Physically nasa iyo, no? Like pwede mong hawakan, no? Something like that. Sabi daw, and other cash items awaiting deposit. So kahit hindi mo pa na-deposit sa bangko mo, no? These are still considered as cash, no? So and kasi may kita nyo sa pangalawang yung sabi cash in bank, cash rin siya, no? Nasa bank lang. Ayan. So, dito na tayo sa cash items included in cash, no? So, gusto ko muna palang unahin itong B, yung cash in bank. So, yan, kasama daw siya. Bank deposit or checking account. Kasama na rin yung savings account dyan, no? So, ayan. Balik tayo dun sa A. So, sabi, cash on hand and other cash items awaiting deposit such as customer's checks, cashier or manager's check, traveler's check, bank drafts, and money orders. So, ito, yan, himay-himayin natin. So, cash daw, yung cash on hand. Ibig sabihin cash on hand, ito yung cash na literally, physically, nasa location mo or nasa, sabihin natin, nasa branch ng business mo or nasa office mo. Yan, diba? You can physically control it. And next daw, other other cash items awaiting deposit. So, ibig sabihin, kung nasa iyo pa siya, no? Wala pa siya sa bangko, no? So, napaka-self-explanatory niya, ang hirap i-explain in the essence na no, parang ulitin ko na ng letra nakasulat, pero yun. I-define natin siya. Ito, customer's check. Ibig sabihin lang nito yung mga check na natatanggap natin as a form of payment, no? Mula sa customers natin. Itong cashier or manager's check, tsaka yung bank drafts. Yung tatlong yan, halos pare-pares lang yan. So, check rin siya, syempre, as a form of payment, but guaranteed siya, no? Meaning, sure na hindi yan tatalbog kung sakaling i-redeem ng seller. Kasi, nag-set aside na mismo yung bangko, like, nag-appropriate na sila ng funds doon sa specific na check na yon, no? To make sure na hindi ko kulangin yung like yung balance ng buyer, no? Pag nagbayad sa atin. So, etong traveler's check, medyo outdated na rin siya. Kasi, sinearch ko sa internet, ang traveler's check daw, uso siya nung back in the day na hindi pa uso yung online payments, no? From the name itself, traveler's check, ginagamit siya ng mga taong pag-alagala ng ng iba't ibang bansa, no? So, like, it is readily tradable para sa mga transactions na kakailanganin nila. Pero, I believe, no, in our time, modern times, napaka-outdated yan. Hindi na siya ginagamit. Kasi ang traveler's check na to, siya, it is a physical piece of paper, no? It is tangible. No, at saka kasi ngayon marami na rin naman ng remittance na centers and something like that, na kung saan pwede ka rin magpa-exchange, no? Pwede ka magpa-exchange ng bills mo from one currency to another. So, medyo irrelevant na tong traveler's check na to. Pero for academic purposes, kasama pa rin daw siya, no? Okay, so last, itong money order. So, ang money order daw, it is an alternative to cash or personal check daw ng pagbabayad ng bills. So, based from what I know, it is also a physical piece of paper, something like that. It's a physical document na kung saan yung tao pa pumupunta dun sa bangko para technically check pa rin siya, no? Pambayad daw ng kanilang mga bills, which is, I believe, mahirap siyang intindihan para sa akin personally, kasi hindi naman ako naka-encounter nito buong buhay ko, and I believe irrelevant na rin siya nowadays. So, yun, hindi na rin siya ginagamit, I've never heard someone na gumamit na itong money order na to sa pagbabayad ng kanilang bills, no? But again, for academic purposes, kasama daw siya, no? Okay. So, yan, nadaanan natin kanina. Cash in bank, bank deposit or checking account, no? Savings account, kasama rin. And last, cash fund set aside for current purposes. So, it is like an exception dun sa kanina kong sinabi, diba? Na kapag nagtabi ka ng pera, no, it is restricted, therefore, it is not cash anymore. But, later on, yun, madi-discuss natin kung bakit siya cash pa rin kahit nag-set aside ka na ng pera. Okay. Next, no? After madaanan natin tong cash, dito na tayo sa cash equivalent. So, katulad lang kanina, definitions and items of inclusion, no? So, ano ba tong cash equivalents, no? Yan. So, according dito sa standards, no, cash equivalent are short-term and highly liquid investments that are readily convertible into cash and so near their maturity that they present insignificant risk of changes in value because of changes in interest rates. Yan. So, lahat lang yan ng nakabulit dyan. Sinamarize ko lang. Okay, so doon tayo sa pinakauna, no? Very self-explanatory. Ang cash equivalent daw, these are investments, no? So, kapag nakita ka pinapaanan kayo, no? How much is the cash equivalence dyan sa sa tanong, no? Tanong mo sa sarili mo kung nakita kang isang bagay, mukha bang investment to, no? Pag hindi siya mukhang investment pakinggan, hindi malamang, hindi na siya cash equivalent, no? Kasi cash equivalents are always investments. So, sabi daw dito, short-term and highly liquid, meaning, it is so near their maturity date. When we see maturity date, no, ito yung date na kung saan matatapos yung period, na kung saan naghihintay ang isang investor. Diba? So, ganito kasi, like for example, nagpautang ka. Pag nagpautang ka, technically, it is an investment. Submitting loan. Nagpa-loan ka. After 3 months, sabi natin January ngayon, no? January 1, January 4, after 3 months, babayaran mo to. So, March 31, no, babayaran. Yung March 31, ayun yung maturity date natin. Sa maturity date, binabalik yung principal as well as yung interests. No? So, ito. Next daw, readily convertible to cash. So, dahil nga napakalapit niya na sa maturity date, no? You see, readily convertible to cash, it means like, hindi na siya ganun ka-restricted katulad ng mga long-term investments, diba? Like, submitting 5 years, 10 years, hindi mo siya magagalaw. So, yung 3 months na yun, napaka lang yun eh. Napaka short period of time na yan. So, ang cash equivalence daw, it is as good as cash na rin. Kasi, napaka-iksi na lang naman ng period na hintayin natin, no? Masyado siyang self-explanatory na, no? I believe. So, ito sa dulo, sabi, insignificant risk of change in value due to change in interest rates. So, dahil napaka-iksi na lang ng period na natitira, no? Napakaliit na lang rin ng risk na magbago yung value ng investment na to, no? So, example, no? Ilinawin natin, no? Ano ba kwento to? Pwede kasi yung debtor, like yung pinautang natin, no? Maging pwedeng insolvent or pwedeng maging incapable of fully paying kung ano yung utang niya sa atin, no? Kasama yung interest. So, meaning nagde-default siya, no? So, kapag ganoon kasi, no, nagkakaroon tayo ng debt restructuring. So, under debt restructuring, no, pwedeng maraming mabago. Pwedeng yung period mismo ma-extend, no? Or at the same time, babaan na lang yung interest rate na pinapataw natin doon sa debtor, no, para at least makabayad na sila. So, in that sense, no, kapag nagbawas ka ng interest rate or kinondone mo yung interest rate doon sa debtor, syempre bababa rin yung yield mo, no, kung ano yung babalik sa iyo, di ba? Like for example, 1 million, 10% dati, dapat 100,000 yun. Pero dahil the debtor is facing a financial difficulty, no? Sabi mo, sige, 5% na lang ng 1 million. And then, ano nangyari? 50,000 na lang yun na-recover mo. Kabuuan, 1,050,000 ang babalik sa'yo. Imbis na 1,100,000, no? Kasama yung principal. So, ayun yun. Kapag mahaba kasi yung panahon ng investment, medyo siya, unstable, no? Hindi natin malalaman kung ano ba yung possible na mangyari dito sa debtor natin, no? Along the way, no? So, ayun. Yun na. Examples of cash equivalent. So, number 1, 3-month treasury bill. So, ano ba tong treasury bill na to, no? Ang treasury bill, no, it is a form of investment. Kung sa it is a way for the government to obtain funds from the public, no? So itong treasury bill na to, laging BSP ang nag-i-issue nito kasi syempre ang BSP ang official na bank ng Pilipinas mismo, no? So bakit 3 month, no? meron kasi tayong underlying rule dito sa cash and cash equivalent, no? An investment, kasi di ba meron tayong sinasabi kanina na highly liquid, no? And they're so near their maturity date, no? Pero ano nga ba yung quantitative threshold, no? Paano natin masasabi na so near their maturity date? Gaano ka ano yun? Gaano ka iksi yun, no? Para masabi nating short term nga talaga siya and highly liquid, no? So it is provided daw na dapat within 3 months or 90 days, if I'm not mistaken. It must be 90 days, pero ang sabi kasi 3 months, no? So yeah, 3 months is 90 days. So kapag ang investment mo, no, is lumagpas ng 3 month yung maturity date from the time of procurement, no, it is not considered cash equivalent kahit pa dumating yung period na kung saan 3 months na lang matatapos ng maturity date, no? Hindi siya ganun. Like it must be from the inception itself na kung saan dun mo siya mako-consider na cash equivalent, no? Kung sabihin yun, 5 months siya initially, 2 months have passed, therefore 3 months na lang natitira, no? Hindi siya mara-reclassify as cash equivalent, no? Kailangan ang tinitingnan natin dyan, gaano kahaba yung maturity date since na acquire mo siya or napunta siya sa'yo, no? Or binili mo siya. So ito kasi yan. Yung next example, long-term treasury bill purchased 3 months before maturity date. So ito, kahit mapapansin nyo, long-term, no? Like cementing more than 1 year, kasi long-term nga, no? It is still considered as a cash equivalent kasi napunta siya sa entity na acquire natin, no? 3 months before the maturity date na lang. So ang tinitingnan talaga natin dito is yung gaano kahaba up until maturity date, no? From the time na na-acquire natin tong investment na to. Yan. So pangatlo, 3-month time deposit. So ano ba tong time deposit na to, no? From my understanding, time deposit from the word itself, it is a deposit kadalasan sa bangko. Like, tatago ako ng pera, pero hindi ko pwedeng galawin to for this amount of period, no? For this period of time. And kung hindi ko siya magalaw, no, makakuha ko ng interest, no? Depende sa kung anong napagkasunduan. So, ito, kahit nag-deposit ka na sa bangko, in substance, no, it is an investment kasi magkakaroon ka dito ng return on capital, no? So again, it must be 3 months. It must be within 3 months, no? Or 90 days, no? So ito, 3-month money market instrument or commercial paper, no? It is just, other form of investments held by private entities. So ito kasi yung money market instrument and commercial paper. If I'm not mistaken, no, it is naman, parang katulad lang rin sa BSP kanina. It is the way para makakuha ng funds ang mga companies through the public, no? So, ito, kadalasan ang money market instrument and commercial paper, it is usually unsecured. Meaning, there is no collateral kung sakali hindi sila makabayad. Kasi syempre, di ba? It is borrowed from the public, meaning there are multiple peoples or multiple investors behind this, no? So ang tangi lang daw na nagbubuhat ng money market instrument and commercial paper is yung goodwill or yung di ba? Is yung magandang pangalan, good reputation ng company. Kaya nag-i-invest yung mga tao doon kahit walang securities, no? Like kung sakali mang matalo sila or di sila walang habulin yung mga tao sa kanila. Ang nakasalalay lang sa kanila is yung reputation nila, no? So ganun. Okay, next. So ayan, nadaanan na natin yung cash as well as the cash equivalents. Move on na tayo dun sa other topics ng chapter na ito. So ayan, doon na tayo sa measurement and presentation of cash, no? So, sabi daw dito, ang cash daw ay minimeasure at face amount. No? What do we mean by face amount? In a very simple explanation, ang face amount is literally kung ano yung stated na value niya. For example, nakakita ka ng 1,000 piso, 1,000 nakalagay dun sa papel. No? Kung ano yung nakalagay sa face ng papel na value, ayun na yun. No? Wala nang other hidden value. Basta yun na yun. No? So, sabi daw dito, kung sakali naman daw na ang bangko na may hawak ng pera natin is nagsasuffer sa financial difficulty, no, or bankruptcy, no, yung cash natin dun sa bangko na yun na nakatago must be recorded at estimated realizable value. Ayan. So, pwede natin maging example dito is yung sa, if aware kayo guys, sa PDIC, yung Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation. Last March 15, 2025, nag-increase na yung kanilang tinatawag ng maximum deposit insurance coverage. So, ibig sabihin, kung sakaling malugi yung bangko, so meron kang 5 million sa bangko na yun. Dati, yung maximum na pwede mong ma-recover is 500,000, no? Yun yung pinaka-limit. Kahit pa ilang billion yung nandyan sa bangko mo, hanggang 500,000 lang talaga. Pero ngayon, share ko lang, tinasa nila, 1 million na, dinoble nila. So, kung sakaling mo magkalugi-lugi, no, 1 million na yung pinaka-maximum na pwede mong ma-recover. So, ayun, ulit, no? Kung sakaling meron tayong cash sa isang bangko, no, and alam natin na nahihirapan na yung bangko, meron silang financial difficulties or possible bankruptcy, i-record natin yung cash sa net estimated realizable value. So, in a very simple explanation, i-record natin siya sa amount na kaya pa nating ma-recover or makuha or mapakinabangan mula dun sa bank account natin sa bangko na palugi na or pabankrupt na. So, next, sabi daw, no, yung mga pera natin, isang entity na naka foreign currency ang pag-measure, no, dapat daw i-translate sila sa Philippine peso. Very self-explanatory. So, sabi dito, foreign deposits daw, sabi dito sa next, foreign deposits which are not subjected to restrictions are included in cash. What do we mean by this? So, yan. Balik tayo sa concept ng cash kanina, no? Cash must be unrestricted. Kung hindi mo siya ma-withdraw, kaya sabihin meron tayong cash in bank sa isang bank overseas, hindi natin siya ma-withdraw for some reason, no? It is not considered as cash. So, ganito, example pala. Back in early 2021 or 2022, when the infancy stage of the Russian and Ukrainian war, if I am not mistaken, Russian banks have prohibited its users to withdraw money kasi nung nagsimula yung gera, baksak agad ang reserves ng bangko nila kasi nagsi-withdrawhan na yung mga tao, no. Kung sabihin natin, you are a business entity here in the Philippines and meron kang pera sa Russian bank, no, since you cannot withdraw it anymore, no, it is restricted, no? You cannot use it to whatever things you would like to use it on. So therefore, kahit cash in bank siya, dahil hindi mo siya magamit, nasa ibang bansa siya, it is not included in cash, no? Very self-explanatory. So, ayun daw, presentation naman ng cash and cash equivalent, no, it should be shown down as the first line item under current assets. So combined ang cash at saka cash equivalent as a line item. Like kung sakali magta-trial balance kayo, no, magkasama po ang cash at saka cash equivalent, no. And sa pinakataas po sila nakalagay. Bakit? Kasi sa accounting standards natin, no, ang norms dito actually, if I'm not mistaken, there's no really standard that stops us from putting line items into different positions, no. But it is a common practice, no, to put the line item that is most liquid, no, or easily turnable into cash, no, doon sa pinakataas, no. And what is most liquid item? Syempre, cash itself, no. And as well as cash equivalents. So ayan, punta tayo dito sa classifications of fund for certain purposes. Ito na yung sinasabi natin doon kanina sa pinakauna, no, na it must be readily available in the payment of current obligations and not be subject to any restrictions, contractual or otherwise, no. So yan, click tayo dito sa slide na to. So kapag nag-set daw tayo ng cash, nagtabi tayo, no, ng cash for a current purpose or current use, no, magiging current asset pa rin daw yung cash na yun. Therefore, dahil current asset siya, no, pasok siya sa cash and cash equivalents. Sabihin natin, this month, nagtabi tayo ng 5,000 pesos at the beginning para ipangbayad by the end of the month sa ating mga utility bills, no. Dahil current yung current use yun, kasi within 1 year pa naman, di ba? Within current period, nagtabi ka ng isang bagay para gagamitin mo rin within current period, no. It is considered as cash and cash equivalents pa rin, no. Current asset pa rin siya. Pero ito daw, paano kapag nag-set aside tayo ng cash para sa isang non-current purpose or payment of non-current obligation? Example muna dun sa non-current purpose. Sabihin natin, bibili tayo ng lupa na pagtatayuan ng future building natin, no. In the next 5 years, mag-iipon ako para sa lupa na to, no. So yung mga natatabi mong pera, dahil pang non-current purpose siya, it shall be considered as non-current asset and a long-term investment, meaning hindi siya cash. Bakit? Kasi restricted nga siya. Restricted siya, tapos matagal mo pa bago siya magagalaw. So ito pa next. Sabi daw, set aside for payment of non-current obligation. Sabihin natin, meron kang loan sa isang company or sa bangko, di ba? It is a long-term loan. Sabihin natin 10 million, no, for 10 years, di ba? Syempre, dapat mag-ipon-ipon ka ng pera as time goes by para may pangbayad ka ng isang bagsakan dun sa principal plus interest by the end of the 10-year lifespan of that loan, no? So, dahil matagal pa yung utang na yan, no, matagal pa yan magagamit yung cash na itinabi mo. Therefore, again, it is long-term and it is restricted. So, therefore, it is not included in cash or cash equivalents, no? So, sabi daw, tingnan natin to sa pang third na bullet. Classifications of cash fund as current or not should parallel the classification of the related liability. So, kanina nga, di ba, sinabi ko, meron tayong utang that is due in 10 years, no? So, yung mga tinatabi nating pera para dun, it shall not be an item of cash, di ba? Kasi restricted siya. Pero, sabi daw dito, mini-mirror daw ng classification ng cash fund yung pagiging current or non-current niya dun sa classification ng liability na, ano bang term doon? Liability na kaagapay niya, something like that, no? So, kung sabihin natin yung long-term liability na yun, 10 years, by the time na magre-reach na tayo ng by the end of 9th year, no, there would only be 12 months na lang to settle that 10-year loan, no. Again, by the time na patapos na or last day December 31 ng 9th year, no, magiging current na po yung 10-year liability kasi 1 year na lang yung natitira. Therefore, from this statement, no, magiging current na ang liability, and therefore yung tinabi nating cash fund, no, it will be considered current as well. Therefore, pagdating ng 9th year, end of 9th year, no, kung kailan magsisimula ng 10th year, no, magiging cash na ang ating sinking fund na sinet para sa long-term liability na yun. Okay. Pero iba dito sa asset daw. Kung kanina, mini-mirror daw yung pagiging long-term o short-term ng liability papunta dun sa classification ng cash fund, ngayon hindi. Kapag nagsiset ka daw or nag-iipon ka ng pera para sa pagbili ng PPE or other long-term equipments, no, non-current asset, no, regardless daw kung kailan mo siya bibilhin na, it will never be considered as current. Like for example, for the next in the next 5 years, no, bibili ako ng bagong building, no? Pagdating ng 4th year, yung mga naipon kong pera, unlike kung liability to na magiging cash, no? In this scenario, hindi, no? It is an exemption daw, tandaan nyo. Kapag non-current asset yung pinagtatabihan nyo ng pera, regardless of kung kailan nyo siya i-disburse, wala tayong babaguhin na classification. Ang cash fund na sinet aside natin para sa isang non-current asset will always remain as a non-current asset itself, no? Unlike in liability, wherein it mirrors the corresponding liability na pinag-ipunan natin, no? Okay, so moving on. Ito. Accounting for bank overdraft, no? So, very simple explanation dito, no? Example yung overdraft, basically, nagkaroon ng credit balance or nag-negative yung isang yung balance mo sa isang mong bank account, no? Nagre-resulta to from the issuance of checks in excess of deposits. Yun, so sabihin natin isa kang customer, may babayaran ka 1 million, no? Tapos yung laman ng bangko mo 500,000, pero nilagay mo sa cheque 1 million, tapos yun yung binigay mo doon sa seller, diba? So magkakaroon ka ng deficit na 500,000. So generally lang here in the Philippines, it is not allowed, no? Hindi pwede gawin dito yung bank overdrafts, no? But there are certain exemptions, of course, no? Later we will discuss it. So ayan, ito tayo sa pangalawang bullet, no? Bank overdraft is treated as a current liability. It should not be netted against other bank accounts with debit balances. So para maintindihan natin, ayan, punta tayo dito sa next na slide. So example daw, meron tayong cash in bank in BDO na overdraw ng 200,000. Tapos meron tayong cash in bank doon naman sa BPI, which is a different bank na may debit balance or positive balance na 800,000. So sabi daw dito, hindi na daw natin pwedeng i-net or i-offset yung overdraw natin sa isang bangko papunta doon sa ibang bangko. Diba? It is a separate account, no? Meron kang liability sa isa and meron kang asset sa isa. Hindi mo pwedeng ipag-combine yan because those are two different entities, banking entities, no? So ayan, yung presentation, meron kang current asset na 800,000 from BPI, and then magkakaroon ka ng current liability doon naman sa BDO kung saan ka merong overdraft. Okay. Meron daw tayong exception sa general rule ng overdraft. So sabi daw, kapag meron tayong isang debit balance and isang overdraft, na bank account but within a single banking institution, or sabihin natin east to west, no? Ito sa example natin, tingnan natin. Meron daw tayong cash in bank dun sa bank account number 1 na worth 200,000 pesos na under ng east to west, no? And then at the same time, meron daw tayong bank account number 2 na may, wait lang, mali ba ako nabasa? Hindi, tama lang pala. Una, overdraw ng 200,000. May deficit ka sa bank account number 1 sa east-west. And then pangalawa, meron ka namang positive balance sa second bank account mo, pero east-west pa rin yung may hawak. In this scenario, it is permitted na pwede mo silang i-offset. So, kasi isa lang naman yung entity na concerned within this within this event. So, pwede mo siyang i-net. Binawas dito yung deficit dun sa isang may positive balance na bank account. Okay. So, moving on to compensating balance. So, itong compensating balance, it can be related into the minimum maintaining balance sa mga bangko kung meron kayo, no? 'Di ba, katulad sa video, if I'm not mistaken, kapag nag-open ka ng bank account, no, there should always be 10,000 pesos para hindi masara yung bank mo, no? If I'm not mistaken, no? Basta there should always be 10,000 pesos for your bank to remain open. Dito sa compensating balance, para siyang ganun. It should be maintained, no? But in this specific context, no, it is in connection or in relation to a borrowing arrangement with a bank or a banking institution. So meaning, and ang compensating balance, no, nangyayari to kapag may isang entity na nangungutang sa bangko, no? Ito daw, sabihin natin, ito, may example tayo. St. Timothy Constructions Corporation borrowed 3 billion pesos from PNB and agrees to maintain a 10% minimum compensating balance in its bank account. So, itong compensating balance dito is yung 10% ng 3 billion, which is 300 million. So, kailangan daw as long as hindi pa nababayaran ni St. Timothy yung utang niya dun sa bangko, sa PNB, no, the entity should maintain the desired amount, which is 300 million, dun sa kanyang bank account, no? May kasunduan silang ganun, no? So, in effect, no, it is like, could be considered like a deduction to the borrowing itself, diba? Sabi natin kasi nangutang ka ng 3 billion, pero yung 300 million di mo naman magagamit. E di ang natira, di ba? It is like 2.7 billion na lang, di ba? So in effect, this compensating balance is a reduction to the overall borrowing, overall proceeds from the borrowing that the company, the entity received. So ito, may dalawa tayong scenario dito. So scenario 1 daw, the agreement is informal, thus deposit is not legally restricted. The compensating balance is part of cash, which is part of current asset. So kapag ang compensating balance daw is hindi legally restricted, meaning paano ba ito sabihin? Like, meron kayong like underlying agreement na magkikip ka na ganito, pero kung sakaling hindi mo naman sundin yung agreement na to, no, hindi ka naman magkakaroon na or mag-i-incur ng damages, no? Or like, let me explain this again, no? Kung sakaling i-withdraw mo, no, wala ka namang nilalabag technically sa batas, no? Because wala namang binding force ng law yung napagkasunduan nyo kasi informal agreement lang siya. So basically, no, sinabi nilang na, uy, huwag mong i-withdraw tong 300 million na to. Pero, wala naman siya magagawa kung withdraw mo talaga siya. Wala siyang habol sa iyo, no? So, it is not legally binding. So, ito lang sinasabi dito. If it is not legally binding, therefore, ang restriction parang wala na rin visa, no? So, therefore, yung 300 million na yun, no, it is still part of cash kasi pwede mo siyang gamitin to whatever reason or whatever purpose you may like it to use, no. So ayan, yun na tayo sa pangalawa. Sabi daw, the agreement is formal, resulting to a legally restricted compensating balance. So dahil daw dito formal yung agreement nyo, it is legally binding din, hindi mo pwedeng kunin or i-withdraw yung 300,000 dun sa bangko. So dahil dun nga, meron nga tayong characteristic ng cash na it should be unrestricted, no? Dahil dito hindi mo siya ma-withdraw kasi bawal, the law stops you from doing so. Therefore yung nakalagay sa bangko na yun, therefore it will be restricted, and if it is restricted, it is not considered as cash, no? So sabi daw dito, it shall be separated in another account, no, which is cash held as compensating balance, no. Pero sabi daw dito, it shall mirror the corresponding liability as to presentation. So parang kanina lang rin, no. If sabihin natin yung compensating balance natin is legally restricted, pero ang maturity date niya from the time of acquisition is within 1 year lang, no. Therefore current liability reflect dun sa purpose niya for current purpose. So dahil for current purpose siya, it will be considered as cash, no. Again, current liability mamimirror niya yung purpose, no. Current liability is equals to current purpose of saving of cash. So therefore, if it is current purpose, no, currently set aside, no, it will be considered as cash pa rin. Pero kapag mahaba yung maturity date ng utang, no, it will be for non-current purpose. So therefore, hindi siya masasama sa cash. Ayun. Other topics, no, other nuisances. So ayan, number 1, undelivered or unreleased checks. So simple explanation dito, like nakagawa ka na ng cheque, nasulat mo na lahat ng kailangan mong isulat, napirmahan mo na, hindi mo naman nabigay doon sa creditor, no. So in effect, hindi ka pa rin naman nakabayad. Pero kasi ang essence kasi nito essence of time. So sabihin natin, ganun nga yung nangyari, by the end of the period, meaning December 31, nasulat mo na kasi sa books mo na nabayaran mo, but in fact hindi mo pa talaga nabibigay dun sa dapat mong bigyan. So therefore, you are still not paid. Ongoing pa yung liability. The liability has not been extinguished in the first place. So therefore, by the end of the period, if the check is still undelivered, no, you should revert back the liability, no. Kasi ang nangyari dyan initially, in-extinguish mo na yung liability sa books mo, kasi nung sinulat mo yung cheque, nung drino mo na yung yung cheque mula dun sa bank mo, in-assume mo na nabayaran mo na So ang nangyari dyan, magde-debit ka ng liability, and kikredit ka ng cash in bank or cash. Pero dahil yung pa nga siya nabayaran, no, i-revert mo yun, babalik ta rin mo yun. So technically, magde-debit ka ng cash. Bakit? Kasi binawasan mo yung cash mo kahit hindi mo man talaga siya nababawasan kasi hindi mo pa nga nababayaran. So debit cash, no. And at the same time, magki-credit ka ulit ng liability. Magkakaroon ka ulit ng increase in liability. Bakit? Kasi nagde-recognize ka ng liability initially, although hindi mo pa naman talaga siya nababayaran. So therefore, dapat may liability ka talaga. So yung tinanggal mo, babalik ta rin mo, increase mo ulit siya, no. So ito, number 2, post-dated check delivered, no. Paano naman to? Na-deliver mo na yung check pero post-dated, no. So when we say post-dated, it is a check wherein it has a time period na wala doon mo lang siya pwedeng i-redeem. Ganito, for example, on December 31, ABC company, no, gave the check to XYZ company amounting to 10 million but post-dated to January 15, no? Sa point of view ni ABC company, di ba? Dahil nga na-draw niya na-record niya na, tsaka na-deliver niya na sa XYZ, nagde-recognize na rin siya ng liability. So, ang ginawa niya initially at the books, no, is mag-debit ng liability and mag-credit ng cash. Pero, dahil nga post-dated siya, meaning hindi pa siya ma-encash ng creditor, no? It is as if you are not paid yet. No, you are not paid yet. Hindi mo pa na-settle yung liability kasi hindi mo pa nabayaran. Hindi mo pa nabayaran kasi hindi niya pa nga ma-encash yung bayad mo. So therefore, again, same treatment lang as dun sa undelivered or unreleased checks. You have to reverse your entries, no? So ang mangyari dyan ulit, magde-debit ka ng cash and then magka-credit ka ulit ng liability. So next, ito, stale check or check long outstanding, no? Ito naman yung mga cheque na nabigay mo na dun sa creditor pero hindi nila na encash, no? So technically dapat bayad ka na, pero kasalanan nila hindi nila in-encash, no? And then as time goes by, no, napanis, yung tawag dyan, napanis or nasira na yung check, no? Hindi na siya hindi na nila ma-encash kasi nag-prescribe na yung period na kung saan pwede lang siya i-encash. So, under the law, there is no specific period na nagsasabi kung gaano kahaba bago siya maging stale check, no? But in common practice, in banking practice, no, it is not more than 6 months, no. This should the creditor should encash the check within 6 months, no. So, sabi daw dito, if the amount of liability is immaterial, it should be accounted as miscellaneous income. Bakit? So, pag mga maliliit lang rin naman kasi yung mga utang mo, no, it is, at saka hindi nila in-encash, no, it is like wala na silang pake dun sa liability mo. So, technically, parang wala ka na ring liability. Kasi parang nakalimutan na nila, di ba? Immaterial lang naman. Mawala na yung liability mo, pero no, at the same time magre-recognize ka ng income kasi kumita ka nawalan ka ng liability, di ba? Kung babalikan natin yung definition dun sa CFAS, no, income is defined as an increase in asset or decrease in liability that results in increase in equity. Ano nangyari dito? Nag-decrease yung liability mo, no? Anong effect? Nag-increase yung equity mo. So therefore there should be income recognized, no? As simple as that. So sabi daw dito, if the material is significant, the liability should be restored in cash. Yung sabi natin million to. Based on what I have researched, no, kapag nag-prescribe or nag-stale yung check, it doesn't mean na mawawala na rin yung obligation mo, no? You still have the obligation to pay, no? Still have the obligation to pay. So ang mangyayari dito, syempre mag-establish ka ulit ng liability mo. So, at saka ibabalik mo yung cash na na-record mo na as paid initially. So, ito, ang subsequent entry mo, magde-debit ka ulit ng cash, tapos mag-credit ka ulit ng liability. Ayan. Next is accounting for cash shortage. So, very simple explanation nito. Meron kayong cash sa book, nakalagay sa records nyo, ganito karami cash dapat. Pero nung nag-physical count kayo, kulang yung cash, no? So, ngayon, tataka ka, bakit kulang yung cash ko? May nangupit ba dito? Or nawala, na-misplace, no? Nanakaw? So, ganito yung mangyari dyan. Magre-recognize tayo ng cash short or over na account, no? So, ayan. Cash, doon muna tayo sa cash, no? So, syempre, common sense, no? Kung nawalan ka ng cash or kulang yung cash mo, dapat magde-recognize ka ng cash, di ba? Kasi, kailangan sundo ng books mo yung actual eh. Sabi natin 80 pesos lang talaga yun nandun dapat. Dapat 80 pesos lang yun nasa book mo, no? So, itong cash short or over, it is just a suspense or temporary, no? In some cases, these are also called parking lot accounts, no? Kasi ito, sinasara agad siya, no? Napakaiksi ng buhay ng account na to, no? Shorter than the temporary accounts, no? Sinasara agad to eh. So, ayan, cash short or over. Syempre, titingnan mo na kung anong side muna yung cash kung saan siya nakalagay. Diba? Kung nasa debit siya, syempre, balancing figure, sa credit dapat yung cash short or over. Pero dahil cash shortage muna pinag-uusapan natin, nasa credit yung cash, babawasan mo yung cash. Therefore, yung cash short or over mo dapat nasa kaliwa. Diba? So, ito, scenario 1 daw, what if daw yung loss ng cash is determined to be at the cashier's fault, no? Thus, no, it should be recovered from the cashier. So, ganito, yung cash short or over mo, i-recognize mo na. And at the same time, magre-recognize ka ng receivable from the cashier. No? Or at the same time, no, kung sabihin natin binayaran niya rin naman agad, kahit di ka na mag-recognize ng due from cashier, kahit cash na lang rin ulit. So, in effect, ni-reverse mo lang talaga kung ano yung nangyari kanina, di ba? Like, nawalan ka ng cash kanina, nagkaroon ka ng cash short or over, binayaran ka niya, hindi mawala yung cash short or over mo, increase yung cash mo. Pero in case na hindi niya agad nabayaran yung cash, syempre, magkakaroon ka ng receivable. Hindi ko na nilagay dyan, pero possible subsequent entry is yung due from cashier, kung sakali babayaran na ng cashier, no? Magde-debit tayo ng cash, magre-recognize tayo ng due or receivable from cashier. Kasi, close na yun, no? Number 2, scenario. What if may loss pero hindi natin ma-determine kung sino ba talaga yung may kasalanan, no? So, ang mangyari dito, wala na tayong makahabol, di ba? Hindi natin ma-recover. Magre-record na tayo ng loss, no? So, isasara natin yung temporary yung suspense account natin. So, yan, sasarado natin yung yung suspense account natin. And then, recognize na tayo ng loss. Ayan, next. Dito naman tayo sa accounting for cash overage. So, kabaligtaran lang kanina. Kung nagkulang kanina ngayon, sobra naman. Sobra yung cash na nabilang nyo kumpara dun sa cash on book nyo. So, ayan. Magre-recognize ka ng increase in cash. So, magde-debit ka ng cash. And then, mag-credit ka ng cash short or over. Kasi ang cash short or over ay isang balancing figure lamang po. So, scenario number 1, punta tayo. Sabi daw, na-realize daw natin na pera pala ng cashier yun. So, dapat ibalik natin siya dun sa cashier. Siyempre, kasi pera niya ngayon, di ba? So, magkakaroon tayo ng, isasara na natin yung cash short or over natin. No? So, kaninang credit siya, ngayon, i-debit na natin. And, ngayon, magre-recognize naman tayo ng liability sa cashier kasi dapat nating ibalik yung pera niya. But again, no, pwede namang mag-credit na lang tayo ng cash, no? Kung sakaling binayaran rin naman agad, no? Kasi ang effect lang rin naman yun is it's almost the same. So, subsequently, debit ka ng payable to cashier and magki-credit ka ng cash, no? Kasi bayaran mo. So, ito naman, scenario 2. Hindi natin na daw matrace, hindi natin malaman yung dahilan bakit mas marami yung pera natin kumpara dun sa nasa book, diba? So, dahil ganun, kabaligtaran lang kanina, kung kanina nag-recognize tayo ng loss kasi kulang, ngayon naman, is considered as miscellaneous income or other income, no? So, sasarado na ulit natin yung cash short or over natin, and then, magre-recognize tayo ng income. Yun lang, very simple. Ayan, dito na tayo sa petty cash fund and its systems. So, itong petty cash fund, no, it is daw yung it is the money set aside to pay for small expenses which cannot be paid conveniently by means of check. Diba? So, hindi naman lahat ng transactions, no, is pwede natin bayaran ng check. No? It is way too inconvenient and impractical. No? Kung sabihin natin, inutusan natin yung isa nating trabahante, oy, magpa-print ka nga dun sa kabilang kanto, diba? Sagot din ng kumpanya, diba? Expenses na rin. Hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na, oy, pumunta ka muna sa bangko, kumuha ka ng cheque, i-issue mo dun sa papiprintan mo na tig-3 piso lang naman, diba? Tapos sinipang bayad mo. Hindi man pwedeng ganoon, diba? Masyadong hassle naman yun. Very, very impractical, no? So, dito, sa petty cash fund, iniipon natin yung mga maliliit na expenses, no? And then nagsiset aside tayo ng pera, ng literal na cash, money, para meron tayong pambayad dito sa small, insignificant, day-to-day expenses na natatamo ng business natin, no? So meron daw tayong 2 methods ng pagre-record, itong impressed fund system and yung fluctuating fund system. Dito muna tayo sa petty cash fund, tapos yung accounting procedures. So dito sa petty cash fund system, no, kailangan natin ng it requires yung petty cash voucher ng mga payments. Tsaka kailangan kasi dito meron nag-handle na petty cash custodian, meaning siya yung pagkukuhaan ng mga users ng petty cash fund ng mismong pera. Tapos siya yung magre-record kung magkano yung kinuha ng mga empleyado na siya gagamit ng pera ng petty cash fund, no? Siya yung magko-compile ng records nun, siya yung memorandum entry dun sa kanyang petty cash journal na tinatawag. So ayan, dito hindi tayo recognize agad na expense. So mamaya yan. Ito muna tayo sa pinakauna, no? Check is withdrawn to established fund, no? Very self-explanatory. Yung cash daw natin, nagtabi daw tayo, nilipat natin sa petty cash fund. Hindi malamang madadagdagan tayo ng petty cash fund, tapos mababawasan tayo ng cash in bank or any general cash na account, no? Nilipat lang natin into petty cash fund kasi nag-set aside nga tayo ng pera. So ito, sa pangalawa daw, payment of expenses out of the fund, there is no entry. Meaning, dahil nga napakarami ng mga petty cash transactions, no? Napaka-impractical rin naman. Kung isipin mo, low value lang naman. Napaka-impractical naman kung i-journal entry mo pa isa-isa, di ba? Napaka-hassle naman. Kung sabihin natin merong 200 petty cash transactions, no, of a company during each day of its transaction or of its operation, no? Hindi mo naman kayang listahin lahat. So kino-compile lang ng petty cash custodian and chine-check at the end of the period. So ito, kunin natin yung example. Yan. Ito, replenishment of the fund. So, dito, makikita natin kung ano na yung mga nilalaman. Dito sa example natin, kung ano na yung lalaman ng ating petty cash fund. So, sabi dito, by the end of the period, yung natitira na ng currency and coins is 2,000. And then, yung 5,000 na gamit na sa supplies, telephone expense, 1,800, and postage expenses for 1,200. No? So, i-entry lang natin, by the end of the period, lahat ng mga expenses na na-incur natin. So, ano yung credit? Ang credit natin is cash in bank. Why? Bakit? Kasi replenish siya. So, actually, medyo nahirapan akong intindihan siya during my first year. Hanggang ngayon rin naman, medyo weird siya. Pero may sarili akong naisip na interpretation kung ba't ganito, no? So, why nga ba? So, same effect lang siya as if i-debit natin lahat ng expenses and then i-credit natin yung petty cash fund. And then right after that, dahil nga replenish siya, yung petty cash fund ulit madadagdagan and yung cash in bank mababawasan. So mapapansin nyo, parehas lang rin naman kung idiretso na lang natin na i-record yung cash in bank na credit kumpara sa i-credit pa natin yung petty cash fund, tapos i-debit ulit natin yung petty cash fund, tsaka natin i-credit yung cash in bank, di ba? Same process lang rin naman sila. Okay? So, ito, next. What if hindi naman daw na replenish yung mga expenses natin, no? Ang gagawin natin dito. So, ang entry natin, by the end of the period, i-record mo rin naman lahat sila. Ito, sa example natin, nakita natin na nag-incur ng expenses na supplies for 1.5k, 1,500, postage 500, miscellaneous expense na 1,000. So, ang difference lang is petty cash fund na yung naka-credit natin, hindi yung cash in bank. Kasi bakit? Hindi nga siya na replenish. So, basically, yung petty cash fund yung sumalo ng expenses, no? Next, kailangan mo daw itong i-reverse. Ito medyo weird ulit siya. By the end of the period, kailangan mong i-reverse yung mga entries na nagawa mo during the time na nag-incur ka ng expenses na hindi mo ni-replenish. So, ang mangyari dito, babalik-tarin mo lang lahat ng entries. Magre-reverse yung entries ka by January 1. Yung petty cash fund, yan, balik natin, 3,000. Supplies, credit, 1,500. Postage, 500. Miscellaneous expense, 1,000. So, bakit daw ganito? Medyo weird siya, diba? Ba't mo pa kailangan baliktarin? Kailangan daw siyang baliktarin para bumalik yung value ng petty cash fund doon sa kanyang pinakatamang value, which is sinet natin dito sa example is 10,000, di ba? Dahil nawalan siya ng 3,000 last year, babalik natin ngayon. So, 10,000 ulit siya. So, bakit ganito? Kaya siya binabaliktad para hindi na mahirapan sa pag-entry yung petty cash custodian. What do I mean by that? Kasi di ba nga may sinusunod tayo na format? Dapat kapag nagre-replenish tayo, yung nasa credit side natin is yung cash in bank. So, mapapansin nyo, wala rin namang effect yung pag-debit ulit natin ng mga expenses natin kasi credit natin siya in the first place. So, difference lang ngayon kumpara sa kanina na entry natin last year is cash in bank na yung nasa credit side imbis na yung petty cash fund. So, babalik tayo dun sa logic na pinakita natin kanina, yung sa replenish to dito sa kabilang page, no? Yung it is as if binawas natin sa petty cash fund tapos dinagdagan ulit natin yung petty cash fund tapos binawasan yung cash in bank. So medyo matricky siya explain pero madali lang naman siya maintindihan, no? Okay, so moving on, doon naman tayo sa pangalawang type, which is yung ayan. Bago pala muna sa pangalawa, no, meron pa tayong extra dalawang scenario. What if naman daw nag-decide yung management na dagdagan pa yung petty cash fund na limit sa natin 10k kanina, dagdagan gawin 12k. Hindi, syempre parang katulad lang rin dun sa entries from its inception, no? Tataas yung petty cash fund tapos babawasan mo yung cash, diba? Other way around naman, kung sakaling i-decrease naman yung fund, no? Taasan mo yung cash in bank tapos babawasan mo yung petty cash fund, no? So bali yung petty cash fund, ibabalik mo lang siya dun sa cash in bank mo. Ayun lang. Okay, dito na tayo sa petty cash fund and systems. Dito na tayo sa fluctuating fund system. So, sabi ko dito, yung mga checks na pinapakawala natin para i-replenish yung fund is hindi tugma mismo doon sa petty cash disbursements natin. Like for example, pwede tayo mag-disburse na 5,000 tapos pasukan natin ng 12,000, di ba? No? May variance na 7,000, no? Doon yung nakuha yung pangalan na fluctuating fund system. Kasi hindi siya katulad ng ng impressed kanina, laging kinikip nila at submitting 10,000, di ba? Lagi siya nasa 10,000, no? Kung sakaling kulang, i-reverse mo pa ulit by the next period, no? Dito hindi, wala tayong pake kung di siya magpantay, no? Napaka self-explanatory na lang. So, para ang gamit mo lang dito, para ka lang nag-entry ng cash pero hindi cash na yung gamit mo, kundi petty cash fund na. So katulad lang rin kanina, no, doon tayo sa pinakaunang accounting procedure, gagawa ka ng petty cash fund, gagamitin mo yung cash in bank. Kaya mabawasan ka ng cash in bank, madagdagan yung petty cash fund mo. And ang pinakaibahan dito sa fluctuating fund system, no, every time na magkakaroon ng expenses, journal entry natin. So, ayan. Wait lang. Ay, mali pala yung sa slide ko. Mali na sulat ko. Cash in bank. Petty cash fund. Ayan. So, kapag gumagastos tayo, nanggaling sa petty cash fund, syempre, magre-recognize na agad daw tayo ng expenses, no? As incurred. Tapos, syempre, dahil ginamit mo yung petty cash fund, makikredit ka. Kasi nababawasan yung petty cash fund mo, no? So, ito, replenishment or increase of the fund, parehas lang kanina, no? Tsaka, yung decrease, parehas lang rin dun sa impress system. Kung dadagdagan, yung petty cash fund, edi malamang, i-debit mo yung petty cash fund, tapos mag-credit ka ng cash in bank kasi yun yung ginamit mo pandagdag, no? Kung decrease naman, ibabalik mo yung petty cash fund dun sa cash in bank. So, tataas yung cash in bank mo, mabawasan yung petty cash fund mo. So, ayan, yun lang. Hindi na ako nagbigay ng problem sa fluctuating fund system kasi madali naman siya intindihin, no? Para ka lang nagre-record normally pero petty cash fund na yung gamit mo pang bayad, no? And at ang mangyari lang dyan is ililipat mo yung cash mo sa petty cash fund, no? At the time na gagawa ka ng petty cash fund, diba? So, yun lang. Magsasolve tayo ng problem sa next video. So, itong video na to puro theories lang to. Next video, pasadaan natin yung Procfin para may experience na rin kayo sa solving. So, ayan. Sana maintindihan kayo. Mag-aral tayo na mabuti. Galingan natin para hindi tayo matanggal sa BSA. No? So, ayun lang. Maraming salamat sa mga nanood. Sana maintindihan kayo. No? Inaamin ko, hindi ako magaling magturo. Kasi kalat-kalat ako magturo. Pero sana man lang minatulong ako sa lesson na to, no? Sa pag-intindi nyo. Mamaya gagawa naman ako ng video para sa bank recon. Tingnan natin kung sipagin ako. Ayan. So, yun lang. Bye bye.